Welcome to episode 5 of Why Run Today. Today, we're with Quinton Ulschmid.
Ulschmid, yep.
Ulschmid, perfect.
Nailed it. Spell it. Now you gotta spell it.
Yeah, spell it. I know it starts with a U.
Yeah,
That's,
there you go. That's all you need to know.
Your initials are QU. I like
you got
it.
it.
Works.
You got it.
I like it. I've only called you Q.
Yep.
We can talk a little history. Someday I'm going to interview someone I don't know at all.
Yeah.
But you and I worked together briefly at Target years ago.
Yeah.
And we've kind of just stayed in touch in passing since.
Yep.
But at that time, you were a lifter. You were a power lifter. And now we just filmed you running a triathlon.
Yeah.
So
polar opposites.
Why do you run? Why run today? Let's give us a little background. Who's Quinton?
Yeah. Well, I am 33 years old. Wife, 2 kids, 2 girls, 6 and 4 from Fergus. Been here my whole life. Lived in Fargo for a brief stint for like maybe a year or so, and then came back. But when I met you, I was pretty heavy into the powerlifting. I was 240 pounds, roughly 245 pounds, something like that, and competed in that for quite a while, and would probably laugh if you told me I had to go run, and like would not do it at all. But yeah, no, I'm doing the complete opposite and running triathlons, and did a 50K last year out in Jamestown, so way different avenues of what I've been doing. But why I run, that's I thought about it on the way here too, because I listened to a couple of your podcasts. I was like, I wonder what would I say to that, because I there's so many different reasons, right? Like there's the health side of things, like obviously the physical stuff, like keeps you in shape, it's good for your body, all that fun stuff. But for me, it's a lot more like therapy, like mental side of thing. Yeah. And like for me, I've been pretty open with it with everybody in my life, but struggled with mental health and like addiction problems my entire life. Like, thankfully been sober for 10 years now, but
awesome.
Like for me, like it's a chance for me to kind of get like a little bit of that control back, I think. Because like for so long, like, well, addiction and like mental health stuff like had like just this grip on me. And for like me now, like I can go out and like I can control like what my workouts are. I can control what I get to do with my body. I can control going out and saying like, hey, I'm tired today, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to go run. I'm still going to go ride bike. Like, yeah, I worked all day, and then I got my wife and my kids, but at 7:30, like I got a little bit of time. I'm going to go do something hard, like, and challenge myself. So I think for me, it's a little bit of just trying to get that control back in my life. And for me too, like it's a huge, like, just, it's not free therapy because of the amount of money I spend on stuff.
Sure.
But it's a little bit, maybe a little bit cheaper, probably not. But yeah, I think the big thing is just for me to get out there and do something hard and prove to myself that I can overcome challenges. Because the addiction and mental health stuff that I've dealt with my whole life has been
so
challenging.
What do you think it is? I mean, it seems like the addiction side, that there's a lot of runners, especially guys who do ultra. When you get to ultra, it seems like there's a lot of addiction stories, and in one way or another. What do you think it is about that side that leads to?
Well, I mean, like for me, like I picked triathlon was a big one because I can be stupid at 3 sports again, and like complete beginner at like biking, swimming, running. Like I get to start at the bottom and like work my way up and build, and like there's always this little bit of improvement that I can do. And like with, I think, the addiction side of things and ultra, I think it's a chance for you to like go out and be stuck in your head and just not have to worry about anything else but like your feet in front of you. And it's such a long period of time too. Like you're talking like a 50K or 100K or something like that. You're going anywhere from like 6 hours to 12 hours to 24-hour races and stuff like that. Like I think, I don't know why it's so addicting, but it is just another obsession.
Sure.
Like you talked to my wife, like powerlifting was a huge thing for a long time for me. Was addicted to that for a long time and blew my bicep tendon out, and that's why I actually quit and why I started running to begin with. But for me, I think like, it's just, there's something about being out in nature and like pushing yourself and challenging and proving to yourself that you can overcome something that I think draws a lot of us into like that community. Because there is, I mean, everyone you talk to, not everyone, but a lot of people you talk to that are pretty heavy into some of those sports they have some kind of addiction story or mental health type stuff. So it's an interesting, I don't know the exact correlation between it, but there's definitely something there.
I think so one of my favorite memes that I've seen is I run so I don't kill people.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
there is definitely something about any physical activity that helps you release whatever mental challenges you're facing.
Yeah, and I think there's still, like, when you're done, like, you get that endorphin rush and, like, that dopamine hit from, like, going out and doing stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm sure there's, like, probably a chemical reason behind it, too, that you used to get from addiction with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. So, I think there's a lot of different things, but, yeah.
Excellent. So, you have a full-time job.
I do, yeah. So
you have a family.
I have a family. I have a full-time job.
You're definitely training too. You just got 6th place in the local triathlon.
Yeah, I got 6th place there. I was 12th. This is like week 3 of 5 weeks in a row of like doing races. Like I blocked them all together, like prepped for it. But yeah, I'm still like averaging, I don't know, like 15 to 20 hours a week of workouts. So my wife is super, I don't know if supportive is the right way of saying it, but she understands the dedication behind it, because like for her, like we've been together since high school on and off, like been married, I think this year will be 10 years. So she's like known like my addiction past and like known the dark side of stuff that I've had before. And like she knows that like when I don't work out or I don't have like running, biking, swimming, powerlifting, all that stuff, like I get like physically crabby and like I just, my head doesn't get in a good place. Like I need to have something like that. Like I can't just sit still, because for me, I always said like the worst place for me to be was alone and stuck in my head.
Sure.
But like when you go out and run, like that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm alone and stuck in my head, but it allows me time to like process stuff. But I worked for Cars Tree Service, been there, actually started that job 60 days after I got out of chemical dependency treatment, and started there, and they were like, don't know if you're going to make it, but we'll give you a shot. And I was like, awesome, sounds good. Thanks for the confidence. And I've been there pretty much ever since. I left and went to school, and then that's where I met you, was at Target when I was working in between some school stuff, and then went back there. But yeah, full-time job, 50 plus hours a week usually, and 2 little kids at home and a wife, and trying to manage 3 sports that I'm training for that I wasn't very good at any of them when I started. So it's a lot.
So how do you manage it? What's the key? I mean, do you run super early or train early, train late?
It's tough because like my schedule. So like for me, like I'm in a management position, so my schedule varies so much, and like my territory for what I do is kind of all over the state of Minnesota and like into North Dakota and stuff too. So I've got a lot of flexibility, but I'm home every night. But like some days I gotta leave my house at 4 o'clock in the morning. Some days I gotta leave my house at 6. Some days I can leave at 7 because I'm just going to Fergus. So my training schedule is really like a lot of nights right now. But if I can fit a morning thing in, I will. But for me, like I schedule like all my long workouts like on weekends. Saturdays and Sundays are like my 2 to 4 hour long workouts. Generally during the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's all like an hour workout, like at night, usually like after supper. Like I said, my wife is amazing, like does a lot of solo parenting. Like I try to help out as much as I can, but like I've been also really fortunate, like in the wintertime, like to have a home gym. So like my half my garage is my gym and my treadmill and my bike trainer, indoor bike trainer and stuff like that. I don't have a pool there yet, but I'm talking my wife into getting an endless pool.
I'm sure you can fit a treadmill pool.
Yeah, I think so. So. But no, I do a lot of my training at night. So I swim 3 times a week, bike 3 times a week, run 3 times a week, and if I can get a double workout in, like go do one of them in the morning, then do one later, I will. Used to try to work out really late, but that doesn't work because I need to sleep and recover. Otherwise, I can't do anything. So, but I don't know. And like right now, I'm doing a lot of like the sprint distance triathlons this summer. Last year, I did 70.3 in Iowa, and then did another 70.3 distance one out in South Dakota, and then this coming May, we're going out to St. George, Utah to do a 70.3 out there. And then the goal is to work my way up to like a full distance iron distance. I mean, the ultimate goal is they have these full distance iron, like not Ironman distance, I guess, that are called like extreme triathlons. Okay. And there's one over in Norway that I want to do called the Ulschmid, which is you jump off of a ferry into like this fjord, and you go do your 3.2 mile swim starting in the dark, and then you're doing the 112 mile bike ride through the mountains, and then the 26 mile run is all like through trails and up the mountains and stuff like that. Wow. And you actually have to have like a crew with you the entire time just for like safety reasons. And like for me, like people are like, why would you ever want to do that? And like to me, like that just seems like such a big challenge for me to like prove like that I can do hard things, right? And like I think as humans, like we're meant to move, like we're not supposed to just sit down. So
well, I'm
that's the ultimate
crew.
goal.
I just want to say,
I'll figure out a way to do it. My parents are actually going to go to Utah with us next year because that St. George, Utah is like the course is all through like Zion National Park and stuff, and that's the cool thing about like racing and stuff too is like you get to go explore and like go like see all these really cool things. Like we're going up to Nevis this weekend, and like Nevis is really cool. Like all that backwoods, like northern Minnesota stuff is like just gorgeous. And a lot of the stuff that I do, like it's just being out and exploring some of this stuff. And we can turn, instead of sitting at home for the weekend and just chilling at home, like we can go race and like we can go camping and like involve like my kids and like show them like what it's like to like live an active healthy lifestyle, but then also get out and make memories with them and like go camping and ride bikes and go swimming and like do all this fun stuff. So it's pretty cool to have that, because like powerlifting, you go to a gym like in Fargo or something and just go lift really heavy weights. Like it's a little bit different now, but
sure.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit. I don't want to lose track because I think the kids, especially being an example to them, is important. And let's touch on that. But I want to hear, talk about going from powerlifting. Talk about your powerlifting. Yeah. And you said you tore a bicep, and that was kind of, but talk about what you used to do and now.
Well, like growing up, like it was always football. Like that was my thing. Like football was my thing. I was in track, but the only reason like I started track was because I had gotten into some trouble and got suspended and had to like, I wanted to play football games, so I had to do another sport to get rid of the suspension so I could play the football games, right? So there was like an ulterior motive for that. But yeah, football was always my thing. In track, I was a sprinter, so like 4x100, 200, 4x2. I ran the 400 a couple times, and the coach was like, hey, this is like your sport. I was like, I'm not doing that. 400 meters is too long. I'm going to get too skinny for football. Like I always wanted to be a big football player, so did football in college at M State, but again, addiction and skipping class and not making grades. Only got to play a year out there. Couldn't come back for my second year of eligibility. So, but then I got into powerlifting like pretty much right out of treatment, because again, you need to like gravitate something to like fill your time with stuff. And lifting's always been important to me. Like even like in like my deepest, darkest parts of like addiction and stuff, like I would still go to the gym. It would just maybe be at like 2:00 in the morning by myself. Like I would still go to the gym, but got into powerlifting like right after treatment essentially, and met a local guy here, Jesse Quinton, who was pretty big into powerlifting at the time, and was like, hey, I heard you're into lifting, like you should come and work out with us. And I was like, I kind of like to be by myself, but bit the bullet and started training with him quite heavily and just went all in on the powerlifting thing. Like was pretty decent at it. Like I've always been pretty strong. But yeah, went all into the powerlifting thing. The last meet that I did a bunch of competitions and held my own through a bunch of them. And the last one I had like a 567 squat. I hit 613 on deadlift, then went for 633 and ended up rupturing my bicep tendon. So if anybody wants to see a really cool video of a bicep roll up into your arm, I've got one.
Oh my god. 633? Is that what you were doing?
Yep. And then I was like right towards the top. That's huge. Yeah, it was fun. And like I never broke 400 on bench. I hit like 398, but like I was pretty competitive at it, but I wasn't healthy. Like I was 240, 250 pounds and like didn't really care what I ate. Like I was like a little bit bigger and like I just need to move weight. Like that's my goal. Like that's all I got to worry about. So I remember getting like somewhat tired walking up the steps and like all that fun stuff. It's like, that's probably not great. But did that, tore the bicep tendon, had to have surgery, and it was I got my cast off like the day before my first daughter was born. So that was like a terrible time for me and my wife, like super stressful. And then after that, got into bodybuilding a little bit because I was like, well, I'm not going to lift heavy anymore. It hurts. Like, I'm not going to do that. So thought about trying to compete in bodybuilding, started dieting down, dropped down to like 189 pounds and got like all ripped and was going down that road for quite a while, and then got sick and ended up having to get my gallbladder out. Oh, man. So I couldn't eat anything.
Was that from your dieting?
I don't know. Like I've had like GI stuff a lot of my life, and it runs like in my mom's side of her family. Okay. So I think there's probably more hereditary than anything. Like now I don't do like gluten and dairy and like all that other fun stuff. Like it doesn't sit well with me. So it's good for me because I eat the same thing every single day for like the last 5 years, and I'm okay with it. Like I like structure, so
Sure.
But yeah, did the gallbladder thing. I had to get that out, and then the doctor's like, you can't lift, can't do anything. I'm like, you can run. I was like, I'm not gonna run. But then they're like, I got to the point where I was like going crazy in my house,
Sure.
and it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going for a run. And I remember it was like in the middle of the spring, there was still a little bit of snow on the ground. It was sleeting out, and I looked at my wife. I was like, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna go run. She's like, you're gonna what? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go run. So
That's how bad it is.
Yeah,
I'm going to run.
Yeah. So I went out and I ran a mile, and I came like on my way back. It was so weird. On my way back, an older gentleman, like this was out in Carlisle, like out on 88. Like
Sure.
My parents live in Carlisle.
For those who aren't from the area, it's
it's a small,
there's 15 people.
It's the village of Carlisle.
The
like it's
village of
called
Carlisle.
yeah. So I grew up in the village of Carlisle.
Sure.
But I was on my way back, and like in the middle of nowhere, some car like just pulled up on me super slow, and I like looked over as I run in, and he was like, "What are you running for?" I was like, "Just running for my demons. I don't know." And he's like, "You're never gonna outrun them, but keep it up." And I just like drove away. I was like, "Well, that's cool." But it was like just like pouring rain too. It was gross out. I got back and I looked at my watch, and it was like no offense to anybody that runs out there that maybe doesn't have like great times or something like that, or what the idea of great times is, but it was like a 11-minute mile. And like for me, like in high school, I was like, I could run a 6-minute mile. I could like go sub 6, like 6:30 was pretty easy. And I was like, now I'm at 11, like that's unacceptable. So like from that moment on, it's like, I'm gonna start running, like, cause there's like that goal that's like, that's not good. I want to be healthy. I got kids now. Like I need to be able to like move and play with them. So that was kind of like what started the whole thing. Like I went out for a run one day and it pushed myself and decided that, hey, I gotta get into it. And then yeah, the triathlon thing took off after that, not shortly after, because I figured why have one time consuming hobby when I could have 3 instead.
Right. Yeah. I mean, why buy just running shoes when you can buy
I could buy a bike, and I could buy wetsuits, and yeah, treadmills and indoor trainers, and yeah, it's ridiculous, but
gotta have it.
Gotta
Right.
have it.
Well, so is that all you do for fun then? Now is run and train for the triathlon?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, for the most part. I mean, for me, it is like fun. Like
Sure.
like during it, it always like it sucks. Like during the races, like even like these sprint ones, people are like, oh, it's a shorter distance. Like that's got to be easier. It's like no, I'm going all out in these ones, like redlining the whole time versus like the longer ones. Like it's more like just zone 2 easy training type stuff. But yeah, for fun, that's about it. I still enjoy hunting, and like my kids like hunting and like want to get more involved with it, and I like doing archery. And like we had talked before, like originally like I did the run, and then I was like, well, I need to get in shape because I was going to go on like a backpacking trip and stuff too. I was like, I got to be able to get up hills in order to do some of this too. So like to go on like these big hikes and camping and stuff, like I always want to do like through hike backpacking type stuff, or like go on like these big huge like hunting trips, elk hunt type stuff, and got to do some out in South Dakota, like chasing some whitetails and stuff out there. But I still enjoy hunting, but for the most part, yeah, a lot of my hobbies now are workout related, because it just, the thing about me is like I like to like try to like I find something and then I try to become an expert at it. Like you can ask my wife, like she hates it. Like I picked up golf a couple months ago and started getting into golf a little bit for some fun stuff too. But now like I gotta like, there's so much technique in it. Like there's so many different things. Like if you want to be good at it, like you got to do this XYZ. And like same with triathlon, like in order to be like good at something, like you've got to put in time. You got to like learn the technique. Like swimming's so technical, and like I'm not a natural swimmer at all. Like I used to be a 250-pound bowling ball, so I sink. But I'd say now it's mostly workouts and a little bit of hunting when I find time, and golf every now and then when I can. But again, I've got to pick my poisons because I have too many hobbies. But the workout one is the one that always tends to stick with me. And then my family and I like to camp, so it's kind of cool like going to camp and then do a race that weekend and stuff too. So they kind of fit in together. Like you just got to make sure that you do the camping afterwards, because before a race I'm always pretty crabby. So
Sure. No, I think that tie the outdoors and running and the triathlons and that stuff, they all go really well together. And I did it like, I too like to hunt.
Yep.
Been a duck hunter forever, but I don't have a dog anymore.
Okay.
And so I've debated, now a dog doesn't fit our family's lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to start archery hunting. And then I started looking into the time, the technique, the amount of time to practice, the amount of time to scout.
Don't even get into archery. I did the same thing, like before triathlon and stuff. It was the same thing. Like I did 3D competitions. I had a different bow for 3D and for hunting and like all this other stuff. And now, honestly, like I find way more enjoyable. Like it's way more enjoyable for me to like go out with like my recurve bow and like it's super fun. Like get back to the basics. But archery is it's the same thing. Like anything that I can find that's like technical, like I get drawn to that. Like anything technical is just the way my brain works. Like it lets me pick something apart and dissect it and try to like get better at it. And like, I don't know, there's some about that aspect that draws me to things like that. Like even running can be super technical if you want it to be, and biking, like especially like triathlon, if you get like in the TT position and stuff, like aerodynamics, and like there's just, I've got an archery shop at my house. I've got a bike shop at my house. Like I've got all kinds of stuff at my house. So
I love it.
Yeah.
No, and that's kids are the thing that has kept me from choosing to pursue archery because I don't want to. My son was not interested at all. Yep. Now he is off on his own adventures. He's out of the house. My daughter's going into 6th grade, so there might be time to. My wife would disagree. Pick up a new hobby, but there might be time to pick up a new hobby, and that may be it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I relate because I'm the same way. Like, and I don't. You might not even know this. At one point, I was a golf pro.
Oh, nice. Didn't know that at all. So you can teach me how to swim and how to golf.
We'll see. I would say I have a better chance of teaching you how to play golf than swim, but I can offer you a few.
You haven't seen me swim at a golf club.
I can offer you a few techniques from swimming. I think that side, though, of family and when you talk about the racing thing especially, like being able to go to a race, go somewhere and camp and spend that time, show kids that you put work into something and the results of it and why you're spending time. I think that's huge. And just introducing them to be outside and being physically fit.
Yeah, exactly. I think like with today, and like no offense to anybody out there, but like iPads, TV, like technology, like your phones, like everything's just right there in your face. And I'm just as guilty. Like everything I learn is from YouTube. You know what I mean? Like that's my go-to. Like I don't have a coach for anything. Everything's online. So it can be great, but at the same time, like even with my own kids, like I know that like when my oldest watches a movie for a couple movies in a row or something like that, like turns into a different person. Like right after that, it's like, no, we're going outside. Like we need to get out and do something. Like it's huge for like them to like, for me to like have them see like you can do hard things, you can do challenging things, you can we don't quit. Like I've DNF'd races because of mechanicals and stuff like that. Like my bike broke down like 3 races in a row last year. My wife was about to throw me out the window, but no matter what, like with my kids and stuff, like they'll be like, I can't do this. I can't. And it's like, no, like you can do hard things. Like I'll be here for you. I'm going to help you out. Like we'll do this together, but you can do hard things. Like we can do hard things together. Like we'll make it work. And like showing them like you can set a goal and you can achieve that goal if you put the work in is like huge to me. Like that's, I've had a lot of, I think for me, like I've had a lot of doubters like in my past. Like I remember sitting at like a football camp in high school and like they're like, hey, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's like, I just don't want to be a loser anymore. Like that was one of the things I said like in high school. So like for me, like it's just like, it's just trying to prove to myself and other people that you can take on challenges, and like you might think that you can't do something. Like I'm terrified of the water. Like I'm fine swimming at like the Y and stuff, but like my wife's like, why would you pick triathlon? Like I had a car accident like right before we got married, rolled my car upside down in a swamp and like got stuck. The car was filling up full of water and like was breathing out of a little air pocket, and somebody pulled me out of my car and thankfully saved me. But like I've still got like pretty traumatic stuff with like water. So like I've had races where it's like freaked out right before we get in the water. It's like, oh boy, I'm like telling myself and like pulling myself out of that funk to like, nope, like we're doing this. Like when I did that 70.3 Ironman in Des Moines last year, like I literally had to take my goggles off before the race because I was like tearing up because like I was like, I'm gonna do this right now, like freaking out about it, but like also at the same time like I've trained so hard for this, like I'm about to do this. And then afterwards, like they have pictures or whatever, and I got all the water and just like the look on my face, like you could see like just the joy in my face just from accomplishing that swim. That's like awesome. Then go do like the 56-mile bike and like the run, and like the run sucked because I had a quad cramps like 6 miles in, so I literally had to walk the last 4 miles or 5 miles of that race. But no, it's just it's proving to myself and proving to other people around me that like you can overcome hard things and do things like that. So that's huge for me and my kids, and hopefully they can develop a healthy relationship with that.
Right.
I think at times I can definitely have an unhealthy relationship with it, but yeah, I think that's a big one for me too.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I've gone on both sides where I've been much more the addictive personality, and probably some of the same issues.
Yeah.
Like if I look back, where I was, but like for me, when I was in high school, it was skateboarding.
Yeah.
And high school to just after high school was all skateboarding. Like,
sure.
That's it.
That was it.
That was it. Everything was skateboarding.
Yep.
That's what read, watch, do. Like out the door was skateboarding.
Yep.
Like, I have to go to work. Okay, I'm a skateboarder there. Anyway.
Yep.
That turned into golf.
Sure.
Again, I golfed in high school. And
okay.
It wasn't enough to just play golf with friends.
Yeah.
I quit my career and turned golf into a career for 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was my personality. I have now, in my old age, mellowed that out.
Yeah. I'm hoping I can. Like, I'm 33 now. I'm hoping I can find, like, a little bit of that balance. Like, because in the past, like, there definitely has not been, like, a super healthy relationship with, like, working out. And, like, my diet's, like, super strict. And, like, no, I'm not going out with our friends tonight because I can't eat that. Like, I'm going to stay here. Like, I've pushed it too far the other way. And, like, my kids, I think, have mellowed it out a little bit for me as I've gotten older and, like, matured and found that balance. But, yeah, thankfully I didn't find triathlon when I was, like, 22 or something, because I probably would have tried to turn that into a career. So
sure,
I'm too old to make that happen now. But and there's just so much things, like with swimming and biking and running, like I can improve so much. Like there's so many more things I can do and get better at. So like for me, like even like if at the end of it, like if triathlon's not the end all be all, like I can still go do like some more ultras and I can still keep running. Like hopefully like my body puts up with it and I can continue to do that well into my old age, because there's never been a day in my life where like physical activity hasn't been like super important to me. So if I lose that when I'm 60, I don't know what I'm going to do. So hopefully I can keep doing it.
Figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah.
Do you, are you comfortable talking about the addiction side?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to talk about, there's probably people listening who are struggling with addiction or are, and we had Emily McCune on last time. We talked significantly about her addiction issues too.
Yeah, I'm an open book on all of it, so if there's certain questions, go for it.
I don't know that I have anything specific, but I guess do you maybe some warnings to those, or do you want to talk about what you struggled with or why or what?
Yeah, I think for me, like I started using like alcohol, drugs, and unhealthy relationships with people in like 6th, 7th grade. Like my addiction started really early in my life. And I don't know really, well, I have an idea, but I guess I don't know really what that stems from a whole lot, but struggled with all that, like throughout even like middle school, high school, like that whole thing. And like, even like during football, like I would kind of sober up like during football season, because football was like super important to me. But, yeah, I started like at a really young age with that. And I actually like, people are like, how old are you? And I'm like 33. I'm like, you've been sober for 10 years? It's like, yeah, like I went to treatment when I was like in my early 20s and stopped drinking at 22 and stopped using at like 22. So like a lot of like people like were like in the middle of like their party days, like right when I was getting out of treatment and trying to stay sober. So I lost a lot of friends at that time.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me, like the biggest warning, I guess, for most people is just like, be careful who you hang out with. Like a big thing is you are who you're with. Like surround yourself with good people. My parents were awesome. Like I never had like super bad parents or experiences like that. I hung out with like a lot of the wrong crowd.
Sure.
And I think with like my personality, I was always able to get along with everybody. Like I'd hang out with the jocks. I'd hang out with the not so cool kids and the cool kids and like the smart kids. Like I was knowledgeable and mathletes. Like I was still smart. Like I would hang out with all these different groups, but I always felt like a really, I guess, like a closeness and acceptance to maybe the wrong crowd of people. Sure. And that's like kind of where that started, I think. But yeah, my biggest warning, I guess, to everybody is like it takes one step. I know Clay had a message at the NAS a while back when I was attending over there at the church when I like first got on treatment. He's like, making the wrong choice is like taking one step away like one step at a time, like off, like he was walking down the steps and he's like taking that one step away. It's like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. It's just one step. And then you take another step and you're just that far. And then like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I take another step and then you look around, you turn around and you're like 50 feet away from where you started. It's like, how did I get here? Like, that's where it was for me. Like all of a sudden I've been open with it, so I don't hide anything, but whether it was alcohol, weed, cocaine, meth, like it didn't matter what I was doing. Like if I could afford it, I would do it. Like I bartended just so I could have $300 in cash every night to go spend on stuff. So I think I had some pretty dark times, and thankfully my parents stuck with me through a lot of it, and my wife, Liza. I mean, the whole reason I ended up in treatment is because I went through like an active psychotic episode, and my brother-in-law and my sister, and I thought a bunch of random things were going on, and they ended up bringing me to the hospital, and I don't even remember it, but all I could say was like, I want Liza here, who's my wife now. We weren't even together at that time, but she stuck with it like through that whole thing. And I just, who you surround, and I'm fortunate because my parents and my family are who they are, and they've stuck with me, and a lot of people don't have that support system. And if I didn't have that, who knows where I would be. But
sure.
I think surround yourself with good people. It's easy to say make good choices, but I mean, at the end of the day, like we all have a choice. Like I made the choice to do something, and like that led me down the path I did. I don't regret it because like now, like I can share those experiences with my kids when they get old enough to have that conversation with them. And I've met some really cool people and done some really cool things because of it. But it also changed my life drastically and closed a lot of doors for me too, with what I had of ideas of what I wanted my life to look for. So yeah, just pick good friends, man. Pick good friends.
I can imagine, especially coming out of treatment at 22, like you said, that's when most people are
I've got
going out and living the single life, right? Or living it off.
Yeah, I've got like
their terms.
3, like more or less, like I've got like a really close group of friends that I've stayed in contact with. So I've got like 3 or 4 buddies that like I still like talk to consistently, but like I don't really hang out with obviously any of them from before and stuff. Like coming out of treatment, like everybody's going to the bar at that age. Like even my wife, like now, like at that time she was like 20, 21, like she's like, I can't go to the bar with you. Like I can't, like I'm not gonna put myself in that situation. She's like, oh, we're gonna go hang out at so and so. It's like, I'm not gonna even put myself in that situation right now. Like I can't do that. So I mean, now after 10 years, like I can go hang out at Outstate and do whatever over there and like enjoy myself at some places. But there's still times where it's like I'm not in a good headspace for that right now. So you go do you go have fun, but like I'm probably just gonna sit at home and sit this one out. But yeah, having those experiences at like such a young age and like during that time was challenging.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you ended up in treatment, being forced into treatment.
Yeah.
Would you say you were ready to break addiction when that went into, or was,
so
because a lot of people do treatment multiple times.
Yeah, I mean I think the success rate after the first time of treatment is like 5% or less. Like most people end up going through treatments multiple times. Like I was pretty fortunate. I ended up doing like 63 or 64 days inpatient treatment. I actually started like outpatient treatment, but that didn't work. I just drank at night then instead when I wasn't like in there. So and did a bunch of other fun stuff. So I ended up doing like 60 days inpatient, but the first, usually it's only like 30 days, usually is what it is, like a 30-day commitment. And after that first 30 days, I got super lucky. The addiction counselor that I had at the time looked at me like dead in the face and was like, you're going to go out and use again. Like, I know nothing about you. You've been lying this entire time. Like, you're putting on a mask. Like, you're not being you. Like, I can tell, like, this isn't going to work for you, so I'm just letting you know you're going to fail. And fortunately, I think my mom probably played a pretty big part in it and was able to get another 30 days. So that next 30 days, I really like, all right, like I'm gonna give this a shot. Like I don't want to go back to where I was because like I said, addiction, mental health. Like I've had some pretty tough times where I didn't think I was going to be here still, and had every intention of not doing that, and had some experiences doing that, and I think like for me, like being in like those really dark places and not wanting to go back there like made me focus on that like second 30 days or whatever, and had a really good addiction counselor then too. And then just the support system coming out, like my family wasn't going to let me fail. Like my wife, like now my wife wasn't going to let me fail. Like I hate failure. Like I don't even like,
I can tell.
Yeah. Like I know, like racing and stuff like that. Like I love training and like I love running, love biking, love swimming, but I get such bad anxiety from like racing and stuff. Like if I could just be like a professional trainer and just train all year round, like that's what I'd want to do. Like the racing gives me a goal and a chance to like prove myself, but and it's not that like I hate. It's not that I hate racing and like it's not that I want to win so bad. Like I'm competitive, but I just hate failure. Like I just hate failure. So like I was so stubborn that like when I got out of treatment, I was just like, I'm not gonna let this beat me. Like, cause I also knew like at that point in my life, like if I went back to using again, there was a pretty good chance in my mind that I wasn't gonna be here. And I didn't want that to be the case. Yeah. Cause I did, like I said, I mean, suicide's never a fun thing to talk about with people, but like had multiple like failed type things with that too, like growing up. So it's just, it's tough. Like looking back now, like trying to think of like how I'm going to talk to my kids and stuff about some of that stuff, and like because they're gonna have questions, I'm sure. Like now, like you don't drink, like they'll, like like it's they know that about dad, and it's just now that I have kids, it's something like and a wife, like it's like I have something that like I want to strive to be better for. But,
yeah. Oh, that's yeah. I can see where some of your drive comes from.
Yeah.
From that then. What fuels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of drive. There's a lot of passion for that. Yeah.
What So when you came out of it, stepping back and reviewing, when you came out of addiction, then was the powerlifting side, was that like right away?
Yeah, so I mean, I had to dive into something, because I think like when you get out, like they always say, like don't get a girlfriend right away, get a fish or a plant or something, like you're not ready for a relationship, you got to fix yourself. And like I didn't really listen to that really well because I went back to Liza pretty quick, but that worked out, so I'm maybe a outlier. But lifting was always like important to me, so I was like, I needed an outlet. Right? Like I'm not going to go out to the bar, I'm not going to go out and drink, so I need to put myself someplace, and like I can work, but I still need to do something in my free time. So yeah, lifting and like hunting was like a big one right away too. Like archery actually was a pretty big one for me because I can be super technical and spend a lot of time like just out shooting and doing that kind of stuff. But I got into powerlifting like pretty much right away. Started like I was bored of like bodybuilding stuff and was like I need something to change, and I found this guy Lane Norton who was like this really like analytical power lifter essentially, and like found one of his workouts and then started following him and like just got sucked in. But that's probably a little bit of the addiction thing, but it's fun too. Like powerlifting's cool. Like it's just at the end of the day it's just you versus the weights. Like you're always like you're competing against people, but you're competing against yourself. Right. And like triathlon, like you're competing against people, but you're competing against yourself. Running, same thing. Like if you're in a race, like you're racing against people, but at the end of the day, like you're trying to improve on yourself. Like it's always like the self-improvement, bettering myself type thing that really draws. 3D archery, you're competing against people, but you're competing against yourself. And like it's just there's that pattern there for me that I'm definitely drawn to.
Yeah. That I mean, it seems like you've replaced your addiction with good addictions, and that's probably
they're good. I think there's definitely a balance that I've lacked in the past, though. Like like self-reflecting. Like you can go all in on those things too. You can turn healthy habits into unhealthy habits, right? And like I've flirted the edge many times with that. Like you saw the sign that my wife had that said like, you think triathlon's hard, you should try being married to you. Like it's tough for her. Like she's a saint, but yeah. No, I definitely, that's what I always come back to is like, I'm still an addict at the end of the day, but now like most of my addictions are a little bit healthier than what they used to be. Most of my addictions now won't let me in jail. Like I won't end up in jail for it. So that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a very good thing. I mean, all of this being said now, we've talked for however long, I wasn't paying attention. So why run today? Now that you've kind of talked through that, why?
Yeah, it is, man. It's just the constant opportunity to prove to myself that I can overcome a challenge. That's it. Like at the end of the day, like I can prove to myself that no matter what the day brought, whether it was a hard day at work or family or hard day of family, or maybe I'm having like a rough mental health type day or something like that. Like it's a chance for me to put my shoes on and go out and overcome something and take on that challenge and prove to myself that I can do hard things, and prove to other people that we can all do hard things, and prove to my kids that we can do hard things. Like I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to do that. I know there's some people out there that can't, maybe physical limitations and stuff like that. But like for me, like as long as I'm able to, like I will continue to do hard things. Like that's just who I am.
That's awesome. Do you document your journey at all? Like, are you on Facebook? I guess I've seen posts on Facebook, or
I
do you
kind
do
of
anything with Instagram? Or
so I wanted to start like a YouTube channel when I was really into the hunting stuff.
Okay.
So I started like QU Outdoors and like had like some self-filmed hunts and stuff like that, but I never really did anything with it. Like I post a little bit on Instagram and on Facebook with pictures and stuff like that. I'm a data like freak, like everything, like I track, like some people like want to go out and run and like just experience everything and nothing. Like I want to know what my heart rate is, I want to know my pace is, I want to keep track of all my stuff, like I want to know what my training score is. Like I do all the data stuff and analyze everything. So I track everything that way. But yeah, I guess for me I do a little bit on Instagram and stuff like that. And Triathlon's cool with like the community. Like I've got a sponsor like called Cupcake Cartel. So like you pay in, you get a kit, and then you get some discounts for some different stuff and some opportunities to maybe go out and do some different races and get into some drawings and stuff like that. So I post on some of their stuff too. But yeah.
So if people want to follow you or keep up with your races or any Strava, or where do they?
Yeah, I'm on Strava. I'm on Training Peaks. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Okay. Don't worry about the YouTube thing. I don't think I'll ever post on there again.
This sounds good. Well, this will be on there. So
there, perfect. Yeah, there you go. Maybe we can put it on there. No, Instagram and Facebook is where I usually post most of my stuff, and I'm good with conversations and like small groups of people, but at the end of the day, I'm very introverted. So like I don't like go out and broadcast a whole lot of stuff. Sure. Like I just kind of do my thing. But yeah, I think for me, like if people want to get together and do like a run, or if there's anybody out there that's struggling with addiction and like, hey man, like I need somebody to talk to. Like let's go run, let's go ride bike, let's go find something, go talk. Like I'm always willing to have those conversations because I've been there, done that, and I'm not an expert in it by any means, but I feel like I have probably some valuable life skills that I can help share with some of that stuff. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I want to help people be the best version of themselves too. I don't coach or do anything like that, but someday, who knows, maybe I'll get into that if I can't run anymore or something. But
there you go. That'll be the next thing.
Yeah.
Becoming the best coach.
Be the best coach I can, yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
That's awesome. I mean, hopefully there's somebody out there who hears that and able to help.
Facebook Messenger, Instagram message me, let me know. I mean, I can't promise results on anything, but you got to do the work at the end of the day yourself too. But I'm always willing to help.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was fun. Thanks for taking some video and stuff too. That was cool to have you guys out there. It's like a little bit more motivation too. Like I'd see like you guys around the corner. It's like, oh, like I got to push a little harder. And it was cool. It was fun. Like I've never had somebody like do anything like that before. So it was cool. And the video and stuff that I saw, like hope you got some good footage of everything. It was cool.
We did. And for those listening and watching, we will have a little bit more of a documentary on some of Q's stuff. And so we did film during the triathlon, and I think we're going to try and film up in DL. But
DL's in 2 weeks, and then
I just don't want to get in like. There's a balance of filming during a race and that because you don't want to be in people's way.
Right, yeah. DL might be hard too because DL, I mean, you could probably do like a lot on like the run and the swim. The bike would be hard because it's around the lake, so it's like one way traffic.
I'm going to put the GoPro on my head and just keep up with you.
Do it.
How do you feel about that?
If you keep up with me, go for it. Like I'm going to be so happy.
I'd
be so happy.
Keep up with you.
No, you can do it. You can do hard things, man. You can try it.
Yeah. 2 weeks to be ready to go.
Yeah. You can just start training for St. George, Utah, and then you can just come out to Utah with us.
That's a good idea, actually.
And then do that.
Yeah.
Put yourself through that. Before you know it, you'll be booking plane tickets to Norway and doing extreme triathlons in the mountains.
Exactly. There is the one, the Norway description reminded me, I can't remember the name of, there is one in Duluth that's the same.
Okay.
Where you start on a ferry, swim through like Superior up, and then start. I don't remember.
Yeah, I probably should start with that one before I go to Norway.
I'd go to Norway.
I mean, my first triathlon, I did an Olympic, and then I went straight to 70.3. Like most people do, like super sprints and then sprints, and then like it's like no, I'm going all in. I don't do things half about like that. I go all out. So
absolutely. Well, again, thanks for joining us, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.